This is Tina Douglas, and you're listening to the Liam Photography Podcast with your host, my husband, Liam Douglas. Enjoy!
Welcome back to the show, everyone. Liam here, and this is episode 487 of the Liam Photography Podcast for New Year's Day 2026. And first of all, of course, being it is New Year's Day, I want to wish all of you a happy, healthy, and successful 2026. No matter where you are, I wish you the best. And in today's episode, a pollution project, a postcard of Mars, China now dominates the action camera market, and more. So let's go ahead and get into our first story for this week. Not long after President Richard Nixon signed the act creating the Environmental Protection Agency in 1970, the EPA launched a 50-state effort to document pollution. Photographers hired by the federal government took more than 80,000 images. Petapixel has reported on this project before, but a half-century later, a new feature-length documentary film delivers even more information and piques additional interest in this largely forgotten archive. The film, called the Documera Project, Environmental Destruction in 80,000 Photos, showcases aging photographers recalling their documentary work for the EPA in the 1970s. Photographers shown in the film include Boyd Norton, Arthur Tress, Bill Gillette, Litha and Terry Elar, and Pulitzer Prize winner John H. White from an interview conducted in 2012. In 1969, Santa Barbara oil spill in California and the Cuyahoga River fire in Ohio helped prompt the creation of the Environmental Protection Agency in 1970. EPA's first administrator was William D. Ruckelshaus, who hired writer, photo editor Guilford D. Hampshire in EPA's communications office. Ruckelshaus authorized Hampshire to develop Project Documerica to create a visual baseline of environmental change facing America. More than 120 photographers contributed to the project, said Hampshire's obituary. The model for Documerica was government photography in the Great Depression, commissioned by Roy Stryker of the Farm Security Administration, or FSA. The broad, ambitious goal of the Documerica project was to make a record of pollution and its human impact, to help motivate action and eventually document progress and solutions. Photographers Terry and Litha Scott Elar were assigned to northern Arizona. Terry Elar recalls that smoke plumes from a coal-burning plant were visible from space. Documerica was before pictures, says Litha Scott Elar, intended to show pollution before it was cleaned up. By 1977, the project ended and interest fizzled. The Arab oil embargo, launched in 1973 to protest U.S. support for Israel in the Yom Kippur War, caused price spikes and fuel shortages. Political support for jobs superseded an earlier focus on environmental issues, says the film about Documerica project. Public attention was also engaged on the Vietnam War and civil rights. As Petapixel previously reported, many images from the 70s-era EPA photo project are available via the National Archives and EPA. The Atlantic published 46 Documerica photos in 2011, and ABC posted a report in 2017. The headline on a 2013 article published by Fast Company was, quote, "Gorgeous Vintage Photographs of America in the 1970s, captured by the EPA," end quote. A 2009 dissertation by Barbara Lynn Sheminsky at the University of Iowa said the Documerica project pointed to broader issues beyond pollution, images of architecture and social surroundings, she wrote. Quote, "Invice the era's deep-seated anxieties about fragmentation, degradation, suburban sprawl, urban decline, and proliferating car culture," end quote. Indeed, the Documerica portfolio extended beyond pollution, For example, photographer Cornelius M. Keyes documented farm labor leader Cesar Chavez in 1972. John H. White photographed singer Isaac Hayes at the 1973 Black Expo in Chicago. The contemporary feature-length film about Documerica Project created buzz at festivals, premiering in Australia on opening night at Environmental Film Festival 2025 and winning the History Award at Cinema Verde Environmental Film Festival in Florida. The film was written and directed by French photographer Pierre-François Didac. German broadcaster Deutsche Welle recently featured and reported on Documerica. As the film ends and its credits appear, viewers hear satirist-songwriter Tom Lehrer singing his tune Pollution, which was released in 1965. In July, Lehrer's obituary in the New York Times included this paragraph about his visibility. Quote, by 1981, he had fallen so far off the cultural radar that he told the Harvard Crimson some people thought he was dead. Quote, I was hoping the rumors would cut down on the junk mail, he said. End quote. Like Documerica Project, songwriter Lehrer had talent and garnered attention, but did not hold a top-of-mind grip on the national consciousness. And I thought this was a good subject to include, or story to include in this week's episode, because, as you know, I'm big into photography projects with my Forgotten Pieces of Georgia and Pennsylvania series. And I thought it was a good one to touch on, especially with how the EPA came about and how they initially documented the problems with pollution in the United States, doing it primarily with cameras. NASA's Curiosity rover used its black and white navigation cameras to capture a panorama made up of photos taken at two different times of day on November 18, 2025. Although on the red planet, that time period spanned both the 4,722nd and 4,723rd Martian days, or sols. The panoramas were captured at 4:15 p.m. on Sol 4722 and 8:20 a.m. on Sol 4723 local Mars time. After the panoramas were merged together, color was later added for an artistic interpretation of the scene, with blue representing the morning panorama and yellow presenting the afternoon one. The resulting, quote, postcard is similar to ones the rover took in June 2023. Back then, Petapixel spoke with Doug Ellison from NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, or JPL, in Southern California, who explained the picture was years in the making. NASA explains that the scene captured on November 18th shows Curiosity at the top of a ridge referred to as Boxwork Formation. These formations crisscross a region in the lower foothills of Mount Sharp, a 3-mile tall or 5-kilometer tall mountain which Curiosity has been climbing since 2014. Curiosity used the drill on the end of its robotic arm to collect a rock sample from the top of this ridge at a spot nicknamed Nevado Sajama. This view looks north across Boxwork formations and downslope of Mount Sharp towards the floor of Gale Crater, a vast impact crater the mountain is located within. The Boxwork formations are believed to have been created billions of years ago when water on ancient Mars dripped through rock cracks carrying minerals with them. The minerals hardened after the water dried up. Eons later, wind sandblasted the softer rock around these hardened minerals, exposing the ridges Curiosity is exploring today. These ridges may reveal more about the planet's watery past. Earlier this year, Curiosity captured fascinating photographs of a rock on Mars that closely resembles coral found on Earth. And again, I thought this was a really cool story because of the fact that it has to do with Mars, and doing anything like this on Mars definitely cannot be easy, being the planet is so far away, and we have to transmit and receive back and forth between Earth and the rover. And I highly recommend, if you want to check out the images from this story, you can. They are absolutely beautiful. Just click the link in the show notes for this story and go to the original source, and you can view the images there for yourself. The action camera market, once almost entirely owned by the American company GoPro, is now dominated by Chinese companies like DJI and Insta360, which together hold nearly 90% of the market share in Japan. As reported by Digicam Info, Japanese retail analyst BCN plus R recently published a story on GoPro's plummeting market share, remarking on the company's nearly continual loss of share to its Chinese rivals. Quote, GoPro, once synonymous with action cameras, has seen its market share plummet, writes Ishiaro Mikohishi. Back in May of 2023, GoPro made over 3/4 of all action cameras sold in Japan. However, shortly thereafter, it lost its top spot to DJI, and then Insta360 took over second place. Speaking of GoPro and Insta360s, the two companies remain in a legal dispute over patents. Precisely how and why this happened is a matter of some debate, but BCN plus R believes that GoPro's failed drone business, which launched in 2016 and was killed off just a couple of years later, is a key factor. GoPro's attempt to capitalize on a growing drone market required significant capital and investment, which BCN plus R believes splintered the company's overall R&D, something it has not yet fully recovered from. In the meantime, as GoPro struggled to rebound from its expensive drone experiment, DJI and Insta360 invested heavily in new camera technology across their entire product lineups, including stabilization, image sensors, processing, apps, and more. Insta360 has even gone all in on image quality by working alongside Leica for its action cameras. While DJI and Insta360 continually release new action cameras with highlight-grabbing features, GoPro's pace of innovation has trailed far behind the Chinese competition. GoPro does have some great cameras still, including the recent 8K GoPro Max 2 360-degree camera and the impressive GoPro Hero 13 Black released last year. This is a tough time for GoPro as well, as the action camera market is growing at an incredible rate. BCN plus R notes that, at least in Japan, year-over-year sales have increased by double digits nearly every month over the past few years. For example, last month sales were up about 161%, while the total value of cameras sold was up 173%. So not only are DJI and Insta360 grabbing larger and larger pieces of the pie itself is growing at an impressive clip. GoPro is being left in the dust, but that can change fast. The company could absolutely rebound in a big way with an exceptional product launch or two in 2026. And this is a great story. As you may or may not know, I've been using action cameras for a long time. And I did start out with GoPros like most everybody else. I think the first one I had was like the Hero 2 or something like that. But aside from its fiasco with trying to get into the drone market, GoPro just hasn't been innovating with their cameras, especially the last several years, nearly as much as DJI and Insta360. And I think that's where their biggest problem is. The other two companies are using much larger sensors, so they're getting better low-light performance with minimal noise, and their cameras are honestly just incredible. I sold all my GoPro stuff off a number of years back and went to all Insta360, except I do also have the DJI Pocket 3 gimbal camera, which I absolutely love. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think GoPro's going to come back in a strong way. And I'm not saying that to be mean. The problem is they just don't seem to be able to get their act together. Now, in addition to the failure and the wasted money on their drone project, the other problem they had is their CEO did some shady stuff and took like $500 million of the company's money for himself through some so-called charity he created or some bogus deal like that. I don't know all the details, but that didn't help them at all either, because it took away a big chunk of the company's operating revenue at that particular time. Now, this was a while back, but still, between that and the drone fiasco, those are the two things that have really honestly hurt them the most. And just looking at things realistically, VSCO has added an oft-requested feature to its VSCO Capture iPhone camera app launched in June: video recording. The new video recording capabilities work with the app's 50-plus photo presets and arrive alongside a new film grain function. Video recording and VSCO capture comes with some caveats, including that it does not offer the same effects, options, or manual control as the app for still image capture, and that resolution is capped at 1080p. However, it does enable VSCO capture users to shoot video with the same presets they love for photography. Quote, "We're excited to see how creators will capture their creative point of view by applying the presets to motion in real time," VSCO explains. Alongside video recording, the VSCO Capture app's new grain filter aims to emulate the look of real analog film. The lab-developed film grain effect perfectly complements VSCO's film-inspired filters, the company says. Users can tweak the grain filter's effect with controls for strength, size, and color, ensuring it can range from subtle to dramatic. VSCO notes that its members can combine the grain effect with over 40 different Film X preset filters inspired by real-world film stocks and different eras in photography. The new grain filter complements the app's existing tools such as halation and bloom effects. As a refresher, the VSCO Capture app marked VSCO's return to mobile photography this past summer, giving mobile photographers a wide range of presets, filters, and manual controls to influence the look of their images. While VSCO had a mobile photography app before that included image capture, editing, and filters, that app eventually gave way to VSCO's social media platform efforts. Now VSCO Capture channels the company's past and is VSCO's first standalone mobile app in over a decade. It lives alongside a wide range of iPhone camera apps and will need to receive regular feature updates to compete against the best of the bunch. VSCO Capture is free to download but does require the users to have at least a free VSCO account. Certain features are available exclusively to premium VSCO members. Paid membership starts at $250 per month. And I think this is great that they added the video capabilities to their app because, as you know, when it comes to content creation on smartphones, users want a variety of capabilities. They want to not only be able to do still photos, they want to be able to do videos, they want filters, they want presets, they want all kinds of things. So they definitely did the right thing by adding the video capabilities to their existing app. I think that's really cool on their part. All right, I'm going to take a short break right here, and then I'll be right back. We hope you're enjoying this episode of the Liam Photography Podcast. You can visit the homepage for the show at liamphotographypodcast.com for show notes and links. You can post your questions, comments, or requests for future episodes at the Liam Photography Podcast Facebook group, or you can also email them to the show at liamphotographypodcast.com. You can find the show on Twitter and Instagram at LiamPhotoATL. You can tweet the show, just insert the hashtag LiamPhotoPodcast. And now, back to the show. And we are back. 2025 has marked the passing of several influential photographers whose momentous work helped shape the visual history of the world. From documentary projects that confronted social and environmental realities to images that define fashion, culture, and everyday life, their photographs continue to resonate long after they were taken. This roundup reflects on some of the notable figures from the photographic community who died this past year, and the legacies they leave behind. First, we have Sebastião Salgado, 1944 to 2025. He was a Brazilian photographer known for his powerful black and white images that examined themes of labor, migration, conflict, and the environment. Trained as an economist, Salgado turned to photography in the 1970s. His major projects, including Workers, Migrations, and Genesis, combined epic scale with moral urgency, becoming landmarks of documentary photography. A longtime member of Magnum Photos, Salgado visited at least 120 countries. Although the travel caught up with him, he suffered from a blood disorder that was a result of the malaria he caught while in Indonesia. He also had a spinal issue from when a landmine blew up a vehicle he was riding in during the Mozambique's War of Independence in 1974. Salgado passed away this past May. Martin Parr, 1952 to 2025, died just this past month. His death led to a great outpouring of affection for the British photographer whose work turned the ordinary into the extraordinary. Best known for his unsparing yet often humorous depictions of leisure, consumerism, and class, Parr chronicled ordinary life with a visual language that was instantly recognizable and frequently divisive. His photographs of beachgoers, tourists, food, and rituals challenged conventional ideas of documentary photography by embracing color, flash, and irony. A longtime member and later president of Magnum Photos, Parr helped redefine the boundaries of the documentary tradition while remaining deeply rooted in it. Oliveros Toscani, 1942 to 2025, was best known for his role as art director at Benton. During that period in the 1980s and 90s, the Italian photographer oversaw a series of provocative photo shoots for the fashion brand that addressed themes of racism, war, religion, AIDS, and capital punishment. His work blurred the line between commercial photography and political messaging, forcing global audiences to engage with uncomfortable realities. Toscani died in January after he had been diagnosed with amyloiditis, a rare disease that causes abnormal amyloid deposits throughout the body, including in the brain, heart, kidneys, and other vital organs. Dr. Jane Goodall, 1934 to 2025, was primarily known for being, quote, the world's preeminent chimpanzee expert. But photography played a crucial role in the British anthropologist's work. Early in her career, images captured during her field research provided visual evidence of the complex social lives of chimpanzees, from tool use to emotional expression. These photographs allowed the broader public to see chimpanzees not as distant abstract subjects of study, but as sentient beings with personalities, families, and social bonds. Dr. Goodall understood that photography could translate scientific observation into a universal language. By documenting intimate moments between animals, she brought empathy and awareness to conservation causes, helping people connect emotionally with species that might otherwise have seemed remote or inaccessible. Images of Goodall, many captured by her first husband, Hugo van Leeuwenhoek, were widely used in books, documentaries, and lectures, bringing her discoveries to life and amplifying her message about the urgency of protecting wildlife and habitats. Dr. Goodall died in October. Dubbed Italy's Cartier-Bresson, Berengo Gardin, 1930 to 2025, called himself, quote, a witness of my era, and documented Italy's post-war society. He published over 250 books. Gardin has been compared to the great French photographer Henri Cartier-Bresson, an analogy he enjoyed since he idolized the street photography giant. Quote, he was good to me, Gardin said. Gardin died in August. Michael Singer Reiner, 1955 to 2025, passed in tragic circumstances earlier this past month. Oh, I'm sorry, it's Michelle. My bad. While her husband Rob Reiner was a famous director and actor, Michelle was a talented photographer whose images were seen by millions. Some of Michelle's best-known work was when her husband Rob was directing Misery in 1990, a movie adaptation of a Stephen King novel of the same name. The photos for Misery are truly memorable and perfectly capture the horror of Kathy Bates' character. Michelle shot photos of other productions too, including early video games. Much like Dr. Goodall, director David Lynch, 1946 to 2025, was not primarily a photographer, yet his impact on the medium is undeniable. Lynch says his photography heroes, including Diane Arbus and William Eggleston, directly influenced his work, while later photographers like Gregory Crewdson and Todd Hitto both cite Lynch as a source of inspiration. Quote, when I saw Blue Velvet for the first time, it changed my life, Crewdson wrote back in January when Lynch's death was announced. And I just wanted to pause here for a second and give my condolences to all of these friends and family of these folks. They were all truly great photographers and gave us a lot of fantastic images over the years. A singer has sued a photographer for selling pictures taken of her for Vogue magazine as fine art prints without her permission. Amy Louise Taylor, the lead singer of rock band Armile and the Sniffers, has reportedly filed a lawsuit against photographer Jamie Nelson in the District Court of California. Taylor has accused Nelson of exploitation of her image by allegedly selling photographs from a Vogue Portugal shoot as fine art prints without authorization. According to a report by The Guardian, Taylor's lawsuit outlines a dispute with the photographer that dates back to mid-2024. Court documents state that in July of that year, the band's manager, Simone Ubaldi, contacted Nelson about photographing the band for an upcoming album. That proposed shoot did not proceed after the band expressly communicated it did not want Nelson using its name, image, or likeness to promote her photography business or to sell merchandise, including fine art prints. Quote, as explained to Ms. Nelson, the band was zealously protective of their image and did not want these used for non-band sanctioned private commercial purposes, such as Ms. Nelson had proposed. As a result, the photo shoot was never conducted, the complaint states, according to The Guardian. The complaint states that several months later, in late March, Nelson contacted Taylor directly to request a separate photo shoot. Nelson allegedly writes that the images would be published exclusively in the July 2025 issue of Vogue Portugal. Taylor agreed to participate under those terms. Court filings allege that Taylor did not authorize or license Nelson to make any commercial use of the images beyond their publication in that magazine. The shoot took place in May, and the photographs later appeared on the cover and inside the July issue of Vogue Portugal. However, the complaint states that on September 2nd, Nelson sent Taylor and Ubaldi a presentation of selected images indicating an intention to sell them as fine art prints through her websites. Ubaldi immediately objected, informing Nelson that Taylor did not give permission for the images to be sold as prints or zines and that their only permitted use was for Vogue Portugal. The lawsuit alleges that Nelson was well aware of Taylor's opposition to any expanded commercial use of the images and that no agreement existed allowing such sales. The complaint further states that Nelson continued to seek a license, but Taylor rejected each request and no deal was reached. Quote, we are not interested in a buyout of these images. I cannot be clearer about this. Taylor does not want you to sell images of her face or her body as fine art prints, Ubaldi writes to Nelson on September 15th, according to the complaint. Despite this, the complaint alleges that on September 20, Taylor discovered the photographs being sold as fine art prints on Nelson's website and were also being used to promote Nelson's commercial activities. The filing further claims Nelson later offered a specially designed zine made up entirely of published and unpublished images from the Vogue Portugal shoot. Taylor's images also continue to appear on Nelson's Instagram and Facebook accounts without authorization, according to the lawsuit. The lawsuit alleges that Nelson's use of the photos has been likely to cause confusion or mistake or to deceive regarding Taylor's endorsement of the photographer's commercial activities. It describes Taylor's public image as central to her career, noting that fans recognize her for a distinctive aesthetic tied to punk and Australian pub rock. Taylor's complaint claims the singer will continue to suffer harm, including lost profits and damages to her reputation, brand, and business interests as a result of the photographer's actions. And so I thought this was a good one to include this week. It seems the last few years, the lawsuits and copyrights and all that stuff has just been going crazy. It almost seems like every week there's a new lawsuit related to copywriting or licensing of images or something or the other. And it might be a good idea. Maybe I'll reach out to the Law Tog and see if I can get her to come on the show and talk a little bit more about copyright law, being that she's not only a photographer, but she's a copyright legal expert. This year, Leica celebrated the 100th anniversary of the Leica 1, the first 35mm camera. That alone makes it an excellent year for the legendary German company, but it was also a jam-packed with new cameras, lenses, and as always, special edition product launches. Before getting into Leica's 2025 product launches that are actually relevant to this recap, it's worth looking again at some of the other things Leica did this year. In February, Leica released the Lux Grip, a premium camera grip for iPhone to work alongside Leica's Lux Camera app. That same month, the company released the ZM12 luxury watch. Insta360 and Leica extended their strategic partnership and promised new products. Those arrived later in the year in the form of the new Insta360 Ace Pro 2 action camera with Leica imaging technology and optics. Leica also entered a strategic partnership with Capture One this year. Leica also debuted new 35mm film this year, Monopan 50, the company's first ever true Leica film. As it turns out, it's a lovely film as well. Leica also released plenty of new editions of its existing photography products like Special City Edition M11 cameras and Safari Edition cameras and lenses. While all that's great, and Leica yet again achieved record sales for the fourth year in a row, it's time to get into the all-new Leica cameras and lenses launched in 2025, and there are some exciting things to discuss. Leica was unusually busy last year when it released 4 cameras, but it nearly reached the same mark in 2025. And much like 2024, Leica's 2025 cameras were all across different systems and formats. Leica's first camera of the year was likely also its least compelling, the Leica SL3-S. The 24-megapixel hybrid camera has some interesting features such as an IP54 weather resistance rating, C2PA functionality, and speedy continuous shooting, but it's unclear that it does enough to justify its existence in the L-mount system, especially in view of something like the Panasonic Lumix S1 II. Ultimately, as Chris Nichols explained, the Leica SL3-S is a very good camera at a very high price. The camera launched at $5,300 and because of tariffs is now $5,665. That's a lot of money to pay for what is essentially a Lumix S5 IIX with Leica branding and a refined user experience. For some users, that premium may very well be worth it, but for us, the SL3-S doesn't deliver anything truly special enough to justify its high price tag. Leica's second camera of the year, on the other hand, is truly different from the rest. The Leica M EV1 is Leica's latest M camera and the first ever to feature an integrated electronic viewfinder. Gone is the rangefinder, but what remains is Leica M camera style and its beloved emphasis on a manual photographic experience. It is a bold, polarizing department for the company, but the results are outstanding. People could argue endlessly about whether the Leica M EV1 should exist, but we are glad it does. It gives a wider group of photographers a chance to have much of the Leica M experience and makes the system more accessible, at least from a usability perspective. It's still awfully pricey. Quote, the M EV1 was fun to use and perfectly capable on the streets. It even saves the potential buyer a little bit of money due to the lack of expensive mechanical rangefinder linkage. Like it or not, the EV1 brings some serious utility and merit to the M series and deserves a place at the table of this illustrious family of cameras, Chris Nichols wrote. Leica wrapped up its slate of 2025 cameras with another winner, the Leica Q3 Monochrome. The 60-megapixel camera retains the standard Q3's luxurious form factor and outstandingly built Summilux 28mm f1.7 ASP-H prime lens, but pairs it with a 60-megapixel sensor that ditches the standard Bear pattern color filter. The result is extremely sharp monochromatic images with exceptional tonal depth. The image quality is among the very best of any full-frame camera, bar none. Many photographers love black and white photography, and Leica has never shied away from giving monochromatic enthusiasts dedicated models for their colorless needs. Basically, if you love the Leica Q3 and you love black and white photography, Leica has delivered yet another winner. Quote, Leica will no doubt continue to have success mating its popular camera models with powerful monochromatic sensors. If black and white photography is your passion and you want a compact fixed lens camera, the Q3 Monochrome is waiting for you, Nichols concluded. We'll be discussing both Leica and Lights Cine in this section, as Lights, Leica's cinema division, had exciting launches this year relevant to our audience. We also cover cinema-oriented lenses from other makers, so it makes sense to include Lights Cine. First, Leica in February Leica released the Sumilex M50 1.4 Classic line prime for the M system. This vintage-inspired lens sports classic Leica styling inside and out, including an optical formula derived from the legendary Leica Sumilex M50 f1.4 Mark II. This lens, released in 1962, was made for over 40 years before being discontinued. Photographers love it for its distinct wide-open rendering and image quality, so Leica brought it back in a new iteration. The retro-styled lens is not just a rehash, though. It can focus closer than the original version, has a refined design and build quality, and promises improved performance when stopped down than its predecessor. Leica's second lens of the year is for L-mount, the compact and lightweight Vario Almaret SL 28mm to 70mm f2.8. The new zoom is SL Systems' latest zoom lens yet and is a new kit option for the Leica SL3 and SL3S cameras. While perhaps not the most exciting Leica SL lens to date, it fills a valuable and flexible role in the L-mount system as a whole and is, by Leica standards, reasonably priced at $1,890. Light's Cine was very busy in 2025. In August, Light Cine announced the Hugo 40mm T1.5 prime lens, bringing Leica's M system optical spirit and engineering to professional filmmaking. It is the 14th lens in the Light Cine Hugo series and comes in LPL and L-mount options. Light says the 40mm focal length is a classic choice in cinema, and the lens promises low contrast, smooth fall-off, and artful flare. The following month, Light's Cine launched its first ever lens designed specifically for mirrorless cameras. The brand new Light Cine Hectar lens lineup comprises 6 T2.1 primes ranging from 19mm to 100mm focal lengths, and all the lenses are available for Sony E, Canon RF, Nikon Z, and L-mount cameras. The lenses may represent an all-new direction for Light Cine, but they still embody the company's trademark approach to engineering and optics. The lenses aim to deliver a look similar to Leica's M lenses from the mid-20th century with a dash of Petzval spirit. Leica is a difficult company to grade. There's a good reason why Chris Nichols and Gordon Lang gave Leica an L grade for the year. Leica just doesn't do things the same way as everyone else. This is mostly a good thing, but it's also an expensive thing. On the one hand, you can easily make the case that Leica released a series of overpriced cameras and lenses in 2025. But on the other hand, you could also argue that Leica released products that deliver unique, valuable photographic experiences. I mostly land in the latter camp, although I think that the SL3S is a particularly challenging sell since it isn't that different from the competition, but is much more expensive. The Leica M EV1 and the Q3 monochrome reflect Leica at its best. These are compelling, interesting products with excellent photographic capabilities and unique takes on what makes photography so darn fun. Leica's products are not necessarily for me, and there are plenty of people who don't have the budget or the desire to pick up what the legendary German company is putting down. But there is no question that Leica products this year are inherently good. I do hope to see a bit more from Leica next year, especially in terms of optics. I think there is still plenty of room to make interesting, distinct lenses across the M and SL systems. And the final grade that Petapixel gives Leica is a B. And I thought this was a good story to wrap up with for this week because I've always been fascinated by Leica cameras. I, of course, can't afford them because I'm not a lawyer or a dentist. I would love to have one someday, but I doubt that's ever going to happen. But they do make absolutely gorgeous cameras. Their image quality and colors are phenomenal. Their lenses are amazing. They are just an extremely great brand of camera and lens systems in the world of photography and videography as well.
Remember to check out the Liam Photography Podcast Facebook group. It is a private group, and you must answer a security question to join, which is the name of the host of the show, myself, Liam. And I've also opened it up to allow you to give the name of a previous guest on the show to show that you're a listener. Once you are in the group, you are free to post your own original work. Additionally, I am the admin of the Fujifilm GFX 50R group, which is the largest group for the 50R on Facebook. If you own or plan to own the 50R, you can request to join that group. You can find my work at liamphotography.net and follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at liamphotoatl. If you like abandoned buildings and history, you can find my project at forgottenpiecesofgeorgia.com.
All right, that's going to wrap up episode 487 of the Liam Photography Podcast. I want to thank all of my listeners once again for subscribing, rating, and reviewing us in Apple Podcasts and anywhere else you might be getting your podcast. If you're not currently a subscriber, why not? It doesn't cost you anything but a second of your time to smash that subscribe button. So go ahead and do it now, please, as well as sharing the show on social media and elsewhere with your photography friends, and ask them to give it a subscribe and a listen as well. Also, stop by the Liam Photography YouTube channel, subscribe to the channel, turn on all notifications. I want to thank all of you again for your continued support on the YouTube channel. I'm up to, I think, like 78,700 subscribers right now, so getting close to 79,000. And as I mentioned in past episodes of this show, when I hit 100,000 subscribers later on this year, I'm planning to have a much bigger giveaway than the one for the 50K subscriber contest. But we'll wait and see how things go, and I haven't decided yet what the prize will be, but we'll come up with something special for you to get your entries in to try to win. All right, that's it, everybody. I will see you all again next Thursday.